Hi, everyone. Welcome to the morning meeting. I am Julio Briones, your host. And, one of the things that we talk about a lot on this channel is providing value. And we always talk about how you're providing value to your caregivers, how you're providing value to referral partners, providing value to your clients or potential clients. But have we ever really thought about what happens when you want to transition out of your business? How are you really going to show that and provide value to your potential buyer? Are you transitioning this business to your kids? Are you transitioning this business for sale? Are you a franchisee and just hoping to get somebody to buy your territory? There's certain amounts of things that are considered valuable and that will help your business sell and just put more money in your pocket at the end of the day. So we talk about our systems and everything else, but rather than hear it from me, we've brought Mr. Michael Ringel here, and he's going to happily go through with us some of the key points of what really makes a business valuable. How's it going, Michael?
I'm good. Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We always really appreciate, any sort of insight or something that's beyond my pay grade. All right. So
Sure.
so let's go ahead and, let's start out. Let's introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit who you are
Sure.
and what your background and why we should listen to you.
Well, great. Thank you. My name is Mike Ringel. I'm a former CPA in the fact that I am dangerous enough to know a lot about businesses and taxes and the implication on our business, but I don't file taxes for clients. I more on the business strategy side. I am a certified exit planner. And I have a whole lot of letters next to my name, just like you do, because,
Yeah.
like most people, I just love to learn.
Hmm.
And, you talked about value. The more I learn, the more value I can provide to my clients. So, I really enjoy that. And so I've been working for about the last 25 years with entrepreneurs and business owners. Started out after grad school building a company with some friends called Let's Talk Business. And what we did there is we built support groups for entrepreneurs and business owners. Not a networking group where it's all about new business, which a lot of people are used to. This
Right.
was really group therapy for business owners.
Hmm.
Like imagine being surrounded with your peers, sometimes in the exact same industry, right? But sometimes in other industries, and talking about the different issues and challenges that you face in your business.
Right.
You probably know as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest issues that we face is the issue of isolation,
Yes. Very much
right?
so.
We have nobody to talk to
Yep.
about the issues that are going on. Now, our spouses may or may not be fellow entrepreneurs. Most times they're not. And, it's really hard for people to empathize with us as we're dealing with all of the issues in growing a company.
Yes. Yeah. I say that to people all the time. Like, there's there's nothing lonelier than starting your own business
Yeah,
because either half the people think you're rich and just come after you to talk to you about money or borrowing money,
sure.
or they don't understand what it because they've never been there. They have that employee mentality.
Mhm.
So they don't understand how many sleepless nights there really are when you're trying to build something.
Yeah, and working, you know, a significant amount of hours per day,
Hmm.
and not necessarily the 9 to 5,
Right. Right.
right? So what we did was we brought business owners together to collaborate with each other, to share best practices, to
Hmm.
learn from each other, so that when things come up for you, you can turn to a almost an advisory board for assistance and help.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so we built that. We actually started to franchise that in the late 1990s.
Hmm.
We had a couple of units. We even worked with large corporations who realized that their distribution channel was through, their business owners, and if we could help their business owners become better at what they do, and really help them fulfill their purpose, why they got into business, what's important to them,
Hmm.
helping them experience purpose, freedom, and abundance in their lives,
Right.
then they will be more successful, happier, provide value for their clients, and make more money.
Excellent.
So, and around like a lot of businesses in 2004, our partnership broke up due to a lot of reasons. And,
Right.
thank goodness we had a buy-sell agreement in place,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the things I like to talk to our clients about is even if you're a sole proprietor, having some sort of transition strategy, whether it's to another partner, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's to a sale, or whether you die with your business, and we'll talk about the ways you exit a business,
Right.
having a buy sell agreement is really important and making sure it's fully funded, which we did. And
Mm-hmm.
so when it came time to the dissolution of the business, right, it was very easy. Well, it wasn't easy, but it was, we had a structure. Here's what this person gets, here's what this person gets, here's what this person gets. And we were able to move on with our lives as opposed to fighting and suing each other over money.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah,
so
that
what?
makes sense. I've seen, and in my work over the years, a lot of a lot of businesses start out great because, when you're friends, when you're
Yeah,
family, everything looks great. And I always advise people when they come to me, it's like, hey, go find somebody that knows what they're talking about and get a
sure.
good partnership agreement in place.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the first things we do as well. And most business owners don't have it.
Right.
And I think you hit on a key point is you need to create these documents when everybody's friendly,
Yes.
right? The
Oh,
worst
absolutely.
time to try to implement these is when you're in the midst of a divorce, a business divorce,
Hmm.
and everybody is fighting and everybody is right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets messy and expensive. Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And things that need to be include, what happens if one of the partners passes away,
Hmm.
right? And how do you fund that? Well, it's pretty simple. You fund it. Well, it's not simple. You could either fund it through the cash flow of the business,
Right.
which is not recommended. In fact, I ran across a very successful business owner who told me that he had a prior business, his partner died, and the value of the business was $1.5 million.
Hmm.
Therefore, the spouse of his partner was entitled to $750,000.
Right.
It wasn't funded with life insurance. I mean, think about
Oh,
it, right? So if the partner dies and life insurance comes into play, you could just easily trade the cash
right.
of the life insurance for the value of the business. So
Hmm.
he had to play it out of cash flow,
Hmm.
and that
That's a
was
lot.
detrimental.
That,
Yeah,
yeah, that's,
it was
mm,
detrimental.
yeah, yeah.
One of the things most people don't think about is somebody wanting to leave a business. How do you buy out their shares? But they also don't think about what if a partner gets sick?
Yep.
So if a partner gets sick and can't work, right? They still own equity in the business and are entitled to their
Hmm.
share of the profits.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that, like, you know, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I used to help people with that part of the business
Right.
startup phase. Yeah, we used to sit down and I mean, it would take us weeks, but we would go through every conceivable detail. What
Sure.
happens if someone gets arrested? What happens if they have a divorce in their own life?
Right.
Sickness, injury, you know, I mean, yeah, I've actually seen this happen many years ago. Two business partners that I was working with, they had no agreements in place, and it was already, I came in after to do what I normally do,
Mhm.
and there was a terrible accident, ice on the roads.
Right.
The one partner lost control of the car, head on into a semi, vegetable
Ooh.
the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens? The guy's technically still alive,
Hmm.
and he still owns the business. So
Sure.
what happens? And that became a big messy thing with the guy's wife and kids,
Yeah.
and it ended up bankrupting the business.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And it could have easily been solved if
Yep.
they owned what we call disability buyout insurance.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
I didn't even know
disability,
something like that existed.
yeah, most people don't. Most people think that is life insurance, and most of the buy-sell agreements I've seen and my team has analyzed for our
Hmm.
clients has the language in it, but the no funding.
Right.
So when somebody gets sick and can't work, right? People have heard about disability insurance,
Hmm.
right? So if you can't work and you're sick, or this person couldn't work, disability insurance would come in and pay or replace their income.
Right.
Disability buyout comes into play where it is actually money is used in a lump sum to
Hmm.
buy the equity of the business out from the spouse or the estate.
Got
So,
it.
so in that case, if the value of that partner's business was $1 million and they
Hmm.
had $1 million of disability buyout insurance,
Right.
well, the insurance would come into the business would pay the estate or the spouse,
Hmm.
the business would get back the equity, the
Right.
business wouldn't go bankrupt, the family would have their money.
Right.
Problem is, most people don't know it exists
Yeah. Yeah.
and they just don't implement it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got to tell you, I definitely learned something new on that point because I
Great.
know there's insurance for a lot of other things, but
Yeah.
that was one avenue I never really even thought of.
Yeah, and it's important to have. So one of the things that I offer and could offer your listeners is if you have a buy sell agreement and
Hmm.
you would like our attorneys to review it at no cost, and then we can go through it together.
Right.
You're going to share my contact information.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can I can actually have our team review it, and then we can go through it together and find out where there are holes in the agreement that
Right.
you currently have, and then talk about ways to address them.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, and let me tell you, anybody that's watching this, I would absolutely highly recommend taking advantage of that. Just any sort of a review you can get, even if you are a single member LLC or a
Mhm.
sole proprietor, you should have your documents reviewed, everything that involves your business, because I mean, there's insurance ramifications. What if you are a brick and mortar store and there's construction or, in we're recording this on September 12th.
Sure.
So, 9/11, my business at that time was affected
Mhm.
by it. It ended up shutting me down. Thankfully, I did have the right insurance in place that allowed
Great.
me to get through it. But that was because there was someone similar to what Mike does that guided me through that process. If you
Yeah.
don't know, what to expect, it can be detrimental. I mean,
Mhm.
unfortunately, the tragedy of 9/11 extended way beyond what my insurance covered, and I ended up having to close my business. But it did
Right.
carry me through for almost a year.
Yeah, it's really important, and the challenge is most entrepreneurs are so focused on working in their business
Right.
that they don't take the time to work on their business.
Correct.
And this insurance review and the buy sell agreement review is
Hmm.
one of the things that I highly recommend to be reviewed on a regular basis, as you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always traditionally made it a habit to have everything reviewed annually. At the
Great.
very least, I recommend to my clients to find someone like you every other year, at the very least.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely good information.
So,
So we're setting up, we go through these annual reviews, we're
mhm,
doing this. That's great maintenance. But now, I believe that you should plan for your exit the day you open your business.
I agree.
Okay. So whether it works out on that trajectory or not, all your structures internally are going to affect the outcome, whether you sell, whether you inherit, whatever it is you're going to do. So,
Mhm.
from your perspective and your years of analysis and
Sure.
everything, and working with businesses in that capacity, what would you say are the top three issues that you have found that people who are trying to get their business, when they've never really did the prep work, all of a sudden here they are, I want to sell my business because I want to
Right.
retire. What are the three biggest mistakes you see that have been made by these business owners that are easily avoidable?
Sure. That's a great question. First of all, I think you hit the nail on the head. Business exit planning is business strategic planning.
Correct.
And you're right. The best time to start thinking about it is the day after you incorporate or start your
Hmm.
business.
Right.
You may not sell for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Hmm.
But if you think of exit planning as strategic planning, right?
Hmm.
Because eventually, with 100% certainty, you will leave your business.
Yes.
There's no doubt,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Most business owners have not planned on it. So the first mistake is they haven't even thought of it, they haven't planned on it, and they haven't even taken the steps to think about what if somebody came to me with a checkbook and wrote the largest check that they may ever see in their life,
Mm-hmm.
would they be ready to take that check? Would it be
Mm-hmm.
big enough? And if you really think about it, there's no dress rehearsal.
Nope.
Many times we only get one shot, right, at leaving our business.
Yes.
And there are only three ways you could actually leave a business. The first is you could sell it to an insider.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an insider is somebody who could be a partner, and that's where the buy sell agreement comes into play.
Right.
It could be employees, but the challenge with employees is a lot of times they don't have the money to buy the business.
Mm-hmm.
They're employees for a reason,
Yep.
right? So they may not have that entrepreneurial drive.
Right.
So there are pros and cons. There's a double taxation problem with selling to an insider, which we could talk about a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But selling to an insider is one of the things to think about. So as you build your business and you bring on partners and you bring on key employees,
Mm-hmm.
most business owners don't think of ways to lock them into the value of the business,
Right.
right? So we may have heard the term golden handcuffs. We may
Mm-hmm.
have heard the term deferred compensation plans.
Mm-hmm.
But when you transition to sell a business, you want to make sure that the buyer knows that your top key people who are integral to the success
Mm-hmm.
of the business are not going to leave on the day the business transitions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, on that note, that's actually, I'm glad you brought that one up first, because that's one of the things that, from a strategic planning point of view of
Mhm.
operations and management, that's one of the first things walking in that I work with my clients. It's like, hey, you have key employees,
Sure.
but ask yourself, how dependent is your business on that key employee?
Right.
Are you, if your top manager that's been client facing, that everybody assumes is the owner because they're the face of your business, if
Mhm.
they walk out, how detrimental would it be to your business?
Right.
Because if they are that big of a cog
Mhm.
in the wheel of your business functioning, you'll never sell your business successfully.
Right.
You will never be able to lose these people, and they're going to hold you hostage for salaries down the road.
Yeah. And so the question is, how do you lock them into your business?
Right.
Right. So there's a difference between offering employee benefits
Hmm.
and ways to lock the key employees into the value of the business. So
Right.
a lot of times business owners think that, well, I'm just going to put a 401k plan in place, a
Hmm.
retirement plan, or I'm just going to give them you know some insurance here and there, or
Hmm.
I'm just going to
Give them more PTO, and yeah.
what right where
Yep.
they can get anywhere,
Yeah.
should
Right.
they leave, right?
Right.
So employee benefits is not enticing enough for these key people to stay.
Hmm.
What we need to do is create deferred compensation.
Okay.
What I mean by that is tying them into the growth of the business, tying them into, right,
Hmm.
the value of the business, the
Right.
incremental value they provide,
Hmm.
right? Being able to fund it in such a way that they'll get paid in the future should these milestones be achieved.
Right.
So there's a
Right.
distinction between the two, and we want to put those plans in place, and we want to either fund them, and if we do, we want to fund them indirectly. We talk about that.
Right. Yeah, that's that yeah, we when we approach it by setting up yeah, performance-based incentives. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, listen, we have an expectation of 20% growth this year.
Right.
Anything above that, we'll talk.
Yeah.
You get a percentage of the difference between today versus the today's expectations versus today's reality.
Hmm.
And those things really do help, especially when we're talking about management and marketing teams, really high level employees in the healthcare space. When you're talking about those executive directors, you're talking about the operations managers, you're talking about the
Hmm.
recruiting staff, the high level players. Those really go a long way to boost up their pay and their
Right.
loyalty to you, because it's on their sweat, not on what you think they're worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's number one.
Okay.
Number two is most business owners want to leave their business, and we'll talk about the other
Mhm.
two ways that business owners
Yeah.
actually leave their business. But the answer to your question is that most business owners, they don't know the value of their business.
Yes, they have an
So,
overinflated value of their business
well,
a lot of
because
times.
because it's their baby and it's emotional, and they're putting in the sweat and the time and the
Hmm.
equity in it.
Right.
Um, they can go. Most business owners can go online and see the value of their 401k or their IRA, or
Hmm.
you can go onto Zillow.com and see the value of your home.
Right.
But most business owners have no clue what the value of their business is.
Right.
And as you said, a lot of times, it can be inflated because it's theirs.
Right.
The story I like to tell is, I had a 2010 Volvo S80, and I
Hmm.
love this car. I mean, I can 210,000 miles,
Hmm.
drove perfectly for a while, and my wife just hated it, started to break down. I started to put more money into it. And to
Right.
me, this car was worth a lot of money,
Yes.
right? To get rid of the car, in order to donate it, I had to pay somebody to come take it away.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So in my world, the car was worth a lot of money. I'm looking at it. It's
Hmm.
right there. It's in the driveway. I loved it, loved
Right.
driving it, felt great in it. But to the outside world, the car had no value.
Yeah.
And
I.
so,
Hmm.
and the problem is most business owners don't get a value of their business for a few reasons. Number
Hmm.
one, it's expensive, right?
Yes.
It takes time out of their business for them to get the valuation.
Right.
And then, like you mentioned, once they get the number, they don't know what to do with it, or
Right.
they think it's too low.
Right. And they don't understand a lot of times, I think, just to piggyback a little bit on that,
Hmm.
that they're just really small incremental things they can do within how the business operates
Sure.
that make a huge impact on that number. But,
Hmm.
they, because I have found, I'm, you've probably dealt with a whole lot more business owners than I have. And in my, what I have found is that most people create a job for themselves with the
Yes.
title of business owner. They
Hmm.
don't understand that to be a business owner and to find that true independence that you're looking for requires a downline, and you can't do everything yourself. You can wear
Right.
many hats, you can't wear all the hats.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of adding value. We call them value drivers. How do you add value to the
Okay.
business?
Hmm.
So, one of the things that we offer in the planning that we do is we have the technology to create the valuation of a business without getting too involved in interrupting the business and the business owner.
Right.
If you think about it, all we need with the software that we have is about 3 years of business tax returns,
Right.
some financial data for current year, and it's almost like Zillow.com, right? We can
Hmm.
go on and we take big data and we take this information
Right.
and we can actually share with a client, here's the value of your business,
Hmm.
right? Approximate value of your business. Here's how you benchmark against other businesses in your industry
Right.
and how you benchmark with people outside your industry. Now,
Right.
remember that the value of your business, the value of anything, is what somebody's willing to pay for it,
Correct.
right? So even though we have the number, right,
Hmm.
that number is really the starting point to say, okay, what are the different things that we need to do, like bringing in a business advisor like yourself to add
Hmm.
value to the business to increase that number?
Right.
What are the things and systems that need to be put in place to increase that number?
Right.
And the other thing that we use that number for is help business owners understand or become mindful of what we call the gap.
Hmm.
And the gap is the difference between, what you desire when it comes to cash flow, or when you
Hmm.
retire or sell the business,
Right.
what you have on your current balance sheet as far as assets that are going to produce income,
Hmm.
and in between those two is the gap. And that
Right.
gap, hopefully, will be fulfilled by the value of the business when it's actually sold.
Yeah.
If not, if there's a shortfall, what are the things that need to be put in place? What are the value drivers that need to be implemented in order to help increase the value of the business? So,
Right.
business valuation is probably number one and number two,
Hmm.
and even number three of the problems that most business owners face.
Right. I agree. I agree with that. That, if you don't know what it's worth, you don't know what you need to get it to where you want it to be.
Yeah.
And I actually, you know, Again, it depending on the level of the business, I do refer my clients a lot to people that do similar things to what you do,
Hmm.
even if it because it just makes sense to me. You have to know. It's to me, it's no different than the service that they're selling. Like if I'm working with a senior care business or if I'm working with a restaurant client, it it's
Right.
the same thing applies no matter what. People will make a buying decision emotionally.
Hmm.
I love this business. I love what you're doing. I love your concepts. I love your food. I love your service. Fantastic. But then they have to justify it logically. All right. So if the numbers, if somebody comes in and you just throw a number without knowing out there to them,
Right.
hey, I think my business is worth $3 million. Okay,
Hmm.
yeah, I love the business, but now show me where it's worth $3 million.
Right.
And that translation from the emotional factors to the logical factors, it's definitely where you come in. It's where services like yours play a big role. That analysis that needs to be done. So
Yeah.
that way you can make those tweaks and really show the value.
Yeah. And it's really important because, as you mentioned, it's something is worth,
Hmm.
right, what it can do for you, not the price.
Right.
And just because you come up with a number that you think is, most business owners try to take the number that's going to fill the gap between, again, what they
Right.
have and what they want.
Right.
And the business initially, right, for
Hmm.
the most part is based upon cash flow,
Right.
right? So somebody buying the business. So number two, so number one, you can sell to an insider. We could go into a whole conversation of the pros and cons around that.
Hmm.
Two, you sell to an outsider. Somebody comes along and says, I want to buy your business. Sometimes it happens when you're ready. Like, you put it out there, say you're looking to retire in the
Hmm.
next, 3 to 5 years.
Right.
But sometimes, and this happened to two of my clients this year, somebody came along and said, I want to buy your business. How much? And they were like, what? I said, yeah. They said, yeah, somebody wants to buy your business. You got to come up with a number that's
Hmm.
pretty reasonable.
Yep.
And so it's built around cash flow. Now
Mm.
we could then, you add some things back and goodwill, et cetera. But it's about cash flow. A buyer looks at a
Right.
business and says, I have a source of cash. Where can I get the highest or best return on my money for the risk that I'm taking? Okay, I want to buy this business. So
Hmm.
it's built around cash flow. So one of the things that I teach people to do, whether you're looking to sell a business today, tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years,
Right.
is protecting the biggest asset that you have, which is the source of cash flow for your business. So, what happens if a partner passes away? What happens if a key person passes away?
Right.
What happens if you get sued? So,
Hmm.
you need to focus on protecting cash flow because we've all heard the term cash flow is king,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The second thing we need to do, right, and we've been talking about it, is grow your business because a lot of business owners I work with, that you work with, they're not ready to leave today.
Nope.
Right. But wouldn't it be great if they were exit ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, like what the situation you're talking about, that somebody just walks in and says, "Give me a number." Personally, I went through that in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, at the time, like I mentioned before, thankfully I had the insurance in the September 11 attacks.
Right.
But when I was my business, I had two businesses at the time. One of them was a
Mm-hmm.
clothing store, and the clothing stores, I had one in northern New Jersey
Right.
and one in down in Florida and another one that I was getting ready to open in California. That was the business that wasn't directly affected by the 9/11 attacks. And very literally a large company that has a large chain of clothing stores to date sent a representative. They were like, "Hey, we like what you're doing, the concepts," because I had a
Right.
pretty unique concept for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "How much?" You know,
Wow.
yeah, and I mean, look, long story short, it turned out well because I had been working with someone similar to what you're doing that was helping me guide through the transition of everything that happened in the business that I had in New York City,
Right.
but because of that, I implemented a lot of the same things in my clothing stores, and
Mm-hmm.
I was actually able to be prepared for that. But yeah,
Sure.
it can happen. And I
Yeah.
still say my number was off by a little bit because it was a lot of random guessing and negotiation, but at least I was somewhat prepared. And technology then wasn't what it is today. Now it's a lot faster and you get much more accurate estimates to your
Right.
business valuation.
Yeah, and it's emotional, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest financial transactions you're going to have in your life.
Yes.
And you know, the other part is being prepared to what to do next.
Right.
I have one business owner who's selling his business. He's a partner. They're selling it for $35 million. He's
Hmm.
55 years old. He's not ready to retire.
Nope.
You
That's
know,
young.
he'll well, right. So he'll get, and they weren't looking to sell. They were
Hmm.
still building. Somebody came to them.
Right.
And so the conversation I'm having with him is, okay, now you're going to get this chunk of money. Let's
Yep.
talk about how to
What do you
minimize or
do
optimize
next? Hmm.
taxes, right?
Hmm.
How to strategically deal with that. The rest of the money that you have, how long is it going to last you based upon
Right.
your current spending patterns? Again, it's all about cash flow.
Yep.
Are there ways that we can provide guaranteed income for you for the rest of your life?
Hmm.
And what are you going to do the day it's sold?
Right.
Besides going out and maybe celebrating a little bit, are you going to work? Are you not going to work? Are you going to work a little bit? So thinking about, who you are as a person, what your purpose is in life is also really important
Hmm.
because most entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs at heart.
Yep.
I have a relative of mine who's 75 years old who is he's in the dental space. He's actually a dentist, but he's
Hmm.
actually an entrepreneur.
Right.
So there's a distinction. For him, he's an entrepreneur who happens to be in the dental business and dental
Right.
industry. And my whole life, he was opening and closing practices and selling them everywhere. And, at age 75 years old, while he's retired and
Hmm.
enjoying his retirement, he's still helping other people build their business because that's what he
Hmm.
loves to do.
Right.
He's not gonna go play tennis and golf, and that's not
Yeah.
relaxing for him.
A very good friend of mine,
Yeah.
extremely successful criminal defense investigator,
Mhm.
very educated man down in South Carolina. He's technically retired, 65
Sure.
years old, and he does, he still decided to go back in, does sales training, does sells like health insurance now because
Yeah.
he just can't fathom staying home doing nothing.
Right.
And that is, I actually just signed up a client about 2 weeks ago that this is
Mhm.
something that we're facing right now.
Yeah.
That he's like, well, sold his business, did it for so long, relatively young, in the
Yeah.
scheme of things, in his early 50s, and now he's like, well, I sold the business thinking I was going to retire and stay with the family. He's like, I've done it for a year and a half now. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
time to go back into business. you know,
Well, whatever it may
um,
be. I mean,
hmm
our mission, right? Just taking a huge
hmm
step back, is why we exist. Is our purpose is to empower families and entrepreneurs and business owners to
hmm
experience purpose, freedom, and abundance.
correct.
It's that purpose. Most entrepreneurs get into business because they have a purpose,
Yes.
especially in the business that we've been talking about, which is the home health industry.
Yes.
A lot of the people who own them are come from that industry, whether they be nurses or respiratory therapists, or
hmm
really really want to help people, you know and fulfill that purpose, produces cash flow, right,
hmm
for their family, to fulfill the family's purpose,
Right.
right? So that when the business is sold and a certain amount of money comes into the financial world, we need to make sure that we coach families on the truths of investing so they
hmm
don't speculate and gamble with their money,
Right.
right? And we help them design a plan to support their purpose
hmm
in life. So when we take a look at everything that's going on, the eventual sale of the business is only the beginning. It's what are you
Right.
going to do with the money? How do you not risk the money? How do you not
hmm
lose the money?
Right.
I heard a story over the weekend of something that, I mean, it happens all the time now. It actually, it actually bothers me. I cannot, I don't know why I'm taking it personally. I wasn't involved in it, but a family that I was introduced to wanted my help because the husband took all of their money,
hmm
put it in a cryptocurrency something or other
Oh no.
4 months ago,
Mm.
because they were promised 12.68% interest on the money.
Right.
I do a lot of work with families in divorce planning, and she called me and she said, my husband lost all our money, $4 million.
Ugh.
And
Oh,
I was
that hurt
dumbfounded. It
me.
was
Yeah.
but it
God.
was the greed. It was the, how do you, it's never going to happen to me. Well, it happens to me. It happens to us. We get sucked into the,
Yeah.
quick rich, get rich quick thing. And most
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs know that it takes time to build value. It takes time to build a business,
Yeah.
you know, and it's life and death. There was
Mm-hmm.
in one of the presentations I do, which is Mind Over Money, which is an educational program about money and the
Mm-hmm.
mindset about it that everybody who emails me would be more than happy to be invited to. They're no cost investment courses. When you take a look at some of the Wall Street bullies, including Madoff, there were many, many, many sophisticated people
Yep.
who got ripped off by him,
Mm-hmm.
so much so that there was a gentleman in France who was a hedge fund manager, Harvard educated, I mean, really, really bright, bright person, lost $1.7 billion
Mm-hmm.
with Madoff. And then he wound up killing himself because he couldn't take it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is life and death. So
Yes.
we need to take this stuff seriously. We need to make sure, and what I do is my clients get probably the biggest check they're ever going to get in their lives is
Mm-hmm.
that they don't speculate and gamble with their money. They implement prudent, strategic planning based
Right.
upon what the Nobel Prize winning economists like Fama, French, Markowitz have taught us on how to invest based upon math and science,
Right.
not on speculating and gambling, so
Right.
that you don't fall susceptible to con men and gurus out there that are out there
Mm-hmm.
to take your money.
Right. Right. I mean, from the sad statistic, I used to do work with athletes way number of years ago.
Yeah,
Um, with athletes in professional athlete, NBA, NFL, things like that.
right.
And one of the things that I learned from that experience is that, you give somebody 10, $20 million, they're broke in 3 to 5 years without proper
Absolutely.
guidance. Most lottery winners are flat broke within 3 years.
Yep.
And it's no different. Selling a business, like you said, it's probably the largest check most people will ever see in their life. It is equivalent to hitting the lottery or equivalent to signing a major sports contract. And if
Oh
you
yeah.
don't know where to throw your money or how to manage it, and that manage that cash flow and everything else, yeah, your life becomes extremely complicated at that point.
It does. So one of the things that I do and work with clients is we prepare the plan of what happens when you get the check.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you're going to do. We're going to put it here, and then we're going to put it here, and this is what's going to happen, and here's
Right.
what the future is going to look like, so that you have confidence to live your life,
Right.
right, the way that you want to design it and live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's really important because we talked about we talked about two out of the three ways to leave a business. We talked about selling to an
Mm-hmm.
insider, and we have
Right.
a whole conversation again about the pluses and minuses of that. Two, selling to an outsider, whether it be selling it back to your franchisor, another
Right.
franchisee in the area,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who wants to get into the business,
Right.
whatever it may be. And, what does it look like for you? Are you going to be kept on as a consultant? Are you going to
Mm-hmm.
help in the business? Do they not want you around anymore?
Right. Right.
I go to a
Do
gym
you want to
here.
be around anymore? That's the other big one.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And third is business owners die in their business.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's one way to leave. And, sole proprietors, as you mentioned, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if that's your plan, if you're the sole proprietor, then the way to exit your business is take as much cash out of the business throughout the years tax efficiently as possible
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and move it from your business balance sheet to your personal balance sheet
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of reasons. I mean, one of them has to do with, being sued and creditors and,
Yep.
if something should happen, getting the assets to your personal balance sheet if they sue the business, right? Because
Yep.
you're hopefully going to be, protected there is important.
Right.
How do you do in such a tax efficient way? A lot of business owners don't know that they could set up certain pension plans and retirement plans,
Mm-hmm.
and they could transfer hundreds of thousands of dollars per
Mm-hmm.
year from their business to their personal balance sheet in a very tax efficient way and get a tax deduction. It's
Right.
not necessarily the 20,500 on a 401k. I work
No.
with business owners, we take six figures out a year
Mm-hmm.
and get a tax deduction for it. So if your plan is to quote unquote, die with your business, because you're just going to, a lot of service businesses do that.
Yeah.
People in
Well,
the financial business, people in
people like me,
people like you,
yeah.
um, accountants,
Mm-hmm.
lawyers, architects,
Right.
the value of the businesses themselves,
Exactly.
well, they do have an exit plan.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with I was working with a lawyer who thought she's been a lawyer for 40 years. She thought she had value in her business, but the day she closed her shop, was the day that her name is off the title and nobody wanted to hire the firm. They wanted
Right.
her,
Right.
right? So, sell to an insider, sell to an outsider, keep until death. The biggest thing we need to help business owners understand is, the gap, right, between what you have, what
Mm-hmm.
you want. Will the value of the business be able to produce the cash flow for you to live your life
Right.
in style?
Sustainability.
That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep.
And only 2% of business owners know the value of the business. So when we work with people, we get them that valuation report. We work with them to understand how to add value to their business. We call them value drivers.
Right.
Um, we kind of talked about the buy sell agreement, key person, increasing cash flow, a lot of ways to add value to the business.
Right. Right. And just I mean, there's a lot of things that get involved in this. We could talk about this literally all day. Like how, we talked about making sure that your key personnel isn't, that no man is an island type of thing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and the viability of the business itself, because that's one thing. Just a little on a side note here, like if somebody were to go and to buy a business, let's walk from the other end of it. That valuation is important, but the valuation isn't everything. And there's a whole lot of things involved there, depending on which side of the purchase process you're
Yeah.
in. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is fantastic information, and
Great.
I think we need to have you back on to talk to us, educate us a little bit more on different things to prep the business. I know that
Absolutely. Love to.
because this is it's a big subject, and it's something that I gotta say, I don't care if you are just thinking about starting your business, even the structure, whether you're an LLC, an S corp, a C corp, how you're going to do it, how you're going to manage it the first 3 years to
Mhm.
maximize those tax benefits, everything. You need an advisor. You need someone that knows what they're talking about, that can guide you properly, because the minute you send the state the money, get that, the certificate of good standing and everything else,
Right.
that the minute that it's real, it becomes real life at that point. And at that moment, you need to start planning, where do you see yourself 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now? You know, how are you going to exit? Not just, like you said, it's not just as simple as taking a check, cashing it, and throwing it in the bank. You have to know where it is you want to go. What's your next step?
Mhm.
Do you want to sit around and, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, pick your butt and eat Cheetos all day? That's cool. But can you sustain that lifestyle, and how long?
Right.
Do you want to travel? Like that's a big one. I have a couple of clients that I'm working with right now that we're working on, so, getting their business ready today to sell in the next 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
That is their actual end goal in bringing in a strategist. So what do you do next? And that's something that we have to talk about all the time. Once you sell the business, once it goes, what's your next step?
Well, I
How do you
also think,
sustain your life?
yeah, I agree. But I also think that we need to think about and help business owners define the true purpose for money,
Right,
right? While they're in business, so that they could pursue it while they're in business,
right,
not just at the sale. So, for example, if you had the systems in place whereby you have that team, right, to
Hmm.
add value to the business. You have the right team in place, your right system
Right.
in place. Wouldn't it be great if you ran a business where, you can go on vacation for 2 weeks
Right.
and the business keeps on running? In fact, it probably produces better when you're not there.
Oh, I agree. Like I said,
Yeah,
I'm this particular client that I was just referencing, their goal is to travel.
sure.
And so my question is always the same that you just proposed. Well, why aren't you doing it now?
Right.
You know, oh, well, my business needs me there. Well, then that's a deficiency that we need to work on now. Every
Mhm.
business, even home care, and because I kept pushback from it with everyone before I start working with them, needs to be able to run either fully absentee or semi-absentee.
Right.
You should not have more than 20% involvement in the day-to-day activities of your business. Otherwise, you just created a job.
Mhm.
And that's dangerous because everybody hates their job. They
Right.
love to work, they hate their job. So don't put yourself in that position.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So this was fantastic. So, we're coming close to the end here. So shameless plug time. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you. And by the way,
Sure.
all his contact information, all of Mike's contact information will be either in the show notes if you're listening to us on the podcast, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube in the description down below. And I highly encourage everybody to get a hold of Mike.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. It was great. And, I'll definitely love coming back and share some more strategies with more detail and what the business owners can implement in their business. Again, my name is Michael Ringel. My direct number is 917-734-4748. Feel free to give me a call anytime. My email address is mringel at strategies4 wealth.com. I'd be more than happy to schedule a free consultation to learn a little bit more about your business, to learn about what your goals and desires are, to share with you how we work with entrepreneurs. I have a whole team of other advisors that I work with, other experts, to really be able to work with you to allow you to fulfill on what your purpose in life is and your purpose for your business. And I think you mentioned you're going to also include a calendar link. So you can just click
Hmm.
on the calendar link, get on my schedule. Again, free consultation and really just more of a conversation. I love learning about business owners, how they make their money, how they grow their business. And then more importantly, if there's a way I could add value to their business and my team can add value, we'd love to work together. So, thank you very much for inviting me to speak with everybody this morning. I had a great time.
All right. Thanks again for coming on. And this has been the morning meeting, and we'll catch you all next time. Take care of each other.